Debbie Dingell, the gentlewoman from Michigan. It's nice to see you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Debbie. Thanks for joining us.
Hello to both of you.
As we look at this, and you take into account Brian's reporting, back in 2006, as the president pointed, 64 Democrats in the House, 26 senators voted for the Defense Security Act. Is it really worth having all these people furloughed over $5 billion for a fence, a wall, a physical barrier, call it whatever you want? Is the political victory worth it right now?
You know what? I don't think anybody's winning right now. Republicans aren't winning, Democrats aren't winning, and the American people aren't winning. I think President Trump, you and I have had long discussions before about why President Trump got elected. Well, a lot of people, I think, voted for him 2 years ago because they were tired of partisan bickering. I'm home. I came home this weekend. I, could get on a plane in 2 seconds if we could ever reach an agreement. And people are mad. They're just, the fact of the matter is they're beginning to feel the impact. This is impacting real people's lives. These are public servants.
You and I have a deep love for the great state of Michigan as well, and the people there. When I was home last over the summer and talked to folks, immigration was still a big issue for them. They even though Michigan isn't a border state, they treat it as such. They said this was a big issue, and a lot of folks I talked to, red and blue, talked about their desire to have a fence, a wall, or something, quote unquote, to stop illegal immigration. You hearing the same thing? If so, why haven't Democrats heard the message?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think President Trump's not hearing the message either. I think I don't think that there's anybody that doesn't want to keep this nation safe. It's how do we do it in the most effective way? And you were in this state, it's a state that's very rich in its diversity of immigration. My hometown of Dearborn has Lebanese and Yemenis and a lot of different people, but we need comprehensive immigration reform, and we need to get back in the room and be talking about this. But the way that this is being done right now, the president has dug in. I will say that what I don't understand is when the Senate passed a bill 2 weeks ago that was identical to a bill that passed the House, both of them, the Senate passed it 98-2. Why can't we reopen the government?
All right, Congresswoman, you say that this is a liability for the president, but it's also true now that Nancy Pelosi is in place, Democrats have the House. The longer this goes on, the shutdown, the more of a liability this is for Democrats. The buck stops with them now. Nancy Pelosi is the one that can make a deal. The president has already shown he's willing to kind of back down off that $5.5 billion mark last week. Democrats said no. Okay,
so let me ask you this question. Why is it, first of all, I've said to you, I said when we started this, that it's a pox in everybody's houses. Though the president could sign a bill that passed the Senate 98-2, that passed the House this week, and he's refusing to do it. Why can't we fund the departments through the rest of this year, the other departments, extend Homeland Security until February 8th, and get in the room and negotiate
the answer to that question is because nothing seems to get done in Washington without some kind of pain and deadline. You talk about comprehensive immigration reform. They've been talking about that in Congress since the early mid 2000s. 2006 is when the Defense Security Act came through. And yet no one has been able to come up with that deal. And it seems as though just kicking the can down the road 2 weeks a month, 2 weeks a month, ends up with nothing getting done, precisely nothing. So why would this time be any different if all of a sudden the president signed the bills you're talking about?
So I'm going to say several things. First of all, members are home. The Christmas vacation, a lot of people didn't feel the impact of this government shutdown. But a lot of Republicans are going to start feeling the impact of this, as you even talk about the IRS and tax returns not being there. Real people are being impacted by this. They are the skies as safe as they've been. These TSA agents have been working without pay, and they talked to me about it when I went to Washington last week, let alone when I returned back home this weekend. I think we got to get back in the room. And I also think you've got Republicans have been coming and talking to me and saying, do you think that we can find a way to start to move this? You've got a freshman class. They all met this weekend. We got a memo from them. They are anxious. They want to do something. They know we need comprehensive immigration reform. It's time for us. I think we got a big election coming in 2 years. The American people are going to hold people.
Before we move on to 2020, I just want to ask you, so your colleague, Congresswoman, the new chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, said this morning that the president is empowered to declare a national emergency as a means to getting funding to build the border wall. He said it's perfectly within his presidential powers. What say you to that?
But I also think I heard him say, but it will very likely be challenged in the courts.
But that he is well within his sort of legal jurisdiction there. You know, in terms of what's on paper, the onus would then be on someone to challenge him.
Well, I suspect someone would challenge him. And the fact of the matter is, I would like to see the president say we need to reopen government. We need to talk about the border, but we got a lot of people that are being impacted by this government being closed. I think he's far too callous about what the implications are for working people across this country and the millions of people that it is impacting. I think our leadership has to be as sensitive to that as well. Everybody, we need to reopen the government. That needs to be our #1 priority, and then we need to make sure we're keeping this nation safe.
Well, Congresswoman, we got to leave it there, but we will check back in with you soon. Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Thank you to both of you.
Good to see you,
Happy New
ma'am.
Year.